Thank you, and wishing everyone a blissful Vesak, and hope you do some very, very good deeds to society these next upcoming few days, especially, but all day and all year round.
Fabulous. And now we move on to another exceptional kind of personality. So we have here Professor Anusha Seneratna, and she also is from England, and she wears many hats. So she has been involved with us for a very long time, and she's come down this time because one is that she's a professor on planetary health, and then she also has represented England at table tennis. So she's been involved with the Foundation of Goodness for quite a long time now, maybe about a decade, and she steers the class of planetary health and has brought us so many different dimensions into planetary health. I think a subject that is very new, but Foundation of Goodness has been in it with you, leading the charge, doing our curriculums and giving the children flavor of planetary health, which are not generally taught in school. So we want to thank you, and we want to convey our heartfelt gratitude, Anusha, being the kind of professor that you are. I remember when we met and when you said you can do the planetary health, and I always grab everything that comes my way, and imagine how many have now benefited from your expertise, and now it has gone beyond, where now you're taking on an international level. That you will explain to us exactly what happens, but you're also wearing two hats. You have been mentoring our table tennis academy, where many girls have gone forth to achieve some great results, and I want to actually see what can be done with these stars, to always, who needs that kind of life coaching, the guidance, the mentorship and all of that, because we keep trying, so many have represented from our sports academy into the national level. But the next goal obviously is to get this elusive gold medal, which is not easy, but in some discipline or the other, we are going to work towards that goal. For 2028 may be too close, but 2032, with 7 years away, would be probably the target to get this goal, and I hope we can even in 2028 get there, because India has done it, Pakistan has done it, and why can't we? So Professor Anusha, thank you very much indeed. With great admiration, my heartfelt thoughts of you coming here to the Foundation of Goodness, and also you've been traveling around to Vaunia, and having discussions with the University of Vaunia that we managed to facilitate, and having also the workshops on planetary health for kids. I would like to hear from you your thoughts, how the kids are faring with your favorite subject, and that you have mastered planetary health, and then of course your table tennis training here would be. And also it is nice of you to bring your parents all the way from England. Looking after one's parents is absolutely really fabulous and sensational, because the merit of which is hard to explain, and they adore you, I know, because they are always with you going around, and the way you look after them is extra special. So our admiration for you is tenfold or more from that standpoint as well. But in the meantime, we would like to hear from you, your thoughts, your visit here, and then you also have another colleague, Joelita, who has actually joined you on this trip, and I think she's from Brazil. So it's been amazing. So can we please have your thoughts for listeners?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Kushil, for the kind comments, and it's a pleasure to be back here after many years. Just a correction, I am a lecturer, not a professor yet, so you can call me Doctor.
Doctor, okay,
sorry.
Okay.
Perhaps Professor.
My apologies, but I always looked upon you as a professor. But
hopefully in a few decades. So it's a pleasure to be back here in the Foundation of Goodness. So as Kushil mentioned, we've been working together developing this planetary health course now for the last 5 years. So I call this course the Girawa Project to reflect.
The Girawa Project,
to reflect the symbiotic relationships that happen in nature and how we depend on a healthy environment to keep us healthy. So that's the idea behind this planetary health course. So I had the pleasure of conducting these workshops in Vavuniya, Hatton, and here in Sinigama yesterday, and it's been really enjoyable to teach the centre coordinators about planetary health, and also to teach them different ways of teaching, essentially, and different ways of learning. So at the moment, the planetary field, a health field internationally, is very focused on higher education. But there isn't much focus on how to educate children. So I was actually recently invited to join the education working group at the Planetary Health Alliance to lead an international guidelines on how to teach planetary health to children. So the work that we're doing here in the Foundation of Goodness will inform those international guidelines. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us to set a standard internationally on how to teach planetary health to children. So in these workshops, we've been teaching practical ways of learning planetary health, so that obviously the children are used to sitting in a classroom, listening to a teacher teach, but it's not always the most informative way of learning. They prefer to learn in more practical ways, so we're developing more practical activities that the children can get involved in, but also empower them to carry out their own research so that they're more motivated to learn about planetary health, and that way also develop skills for their future careers. So that's what we've been teaching the teachers and the coordinators in the workshops, and the feedback has been really positive. They really enjoyed. We gave the coordinators a chance to practice those activities themselves, and they really enjoyed it, and they're really looking forward to teach the children in this sort of innovative way of learning. So that's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dr. Anusha, Foundation of Goodness has been very privileged and, very timely, opportune moment to get the planetary health on board, because we've seen how the planetary health, or let's say the universe, can change with climate action and whatnot. So I think it's very important for kids out there in rural areas to understand the significance of planetary health, which you have introduced, and the Foundation of Goodness is really blessed to be able to conduct these classes purely thanks to you. If not for our connection, I'm not sure, because whenever someone of your stature or expertise comes back and says, why don't we do that? And I humbly, say, okay, let's get on board, and so long as you can drive it, we have the audience, we have the network, we can have the structure, and then go. And I know how far we have gone, and even got involved with Brazil, Planetary Health Club or whatever, and then you being the conduit and driving this has taken it into another level. So we are very, very grateful, truly happy with exactly what you've done. I am really amazed. I'm really amazed at the way, you've been driving this, into another level. So a workshop in Vaunia, a workshop in Hatton, and then in, Sinigama has given such enlightenment to, enthusiastic kids who've been, surrounding you to learn and advance is truly, fabulous and terrific. So, we owe a debt of gratitude for your, time spent. As I always say, you've been volunteering, you've been finding the time and giving of your precious, time, as I always say and said before, cannot be relived. So we are very thankful for your compassionate gesture, especially unasked. That will, make you rejoice greatly in advancing years, recalling these very special moments. But now on to table tennis, and what are your views and what have you done today? I know you did some drills, you practiced with the kids, you've seen some great talent, and also the legendary Jyotipala Samaravira, as we know, probably 25, 30, 40 years ago, was unbeatable and had that huge, and had that huge, like unbeatable period of time for 7 years. So it's been absolutely, wonderful that you connected back with him, and for him to have also seen you must have been real joy. So from the talent standpoint, I know we have this girl Lisanya, who's actually who's 17, who's also done extremely well in her studies, as well as captain Sri Lanka in the recently concluded South Asian Games. So I know you played some like doubles with her, or you partnered. I'm sure you're not practicing anymore, but you still managed to keep her ticking. So I wasn't lucky enough to see, but they told me that you had a great session. So just some thoughts of yours as to how that went along.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable session. It was really nice to meet Jyotipala and the other coach as well, and meet all of the players. They're all very enthusiastic and really keen to learn and keen to practice, and they're all very, very talented. I'm really impressed with how well they play, considering how young they are as well. Their technique is fantastic. I gave a few tips from my experience on how they can refine their technique, and also spoke a little bit about the psychological side of the game, because that's such an important part of an individual sport, especially when you look at the greatest champions in individual sports. About 50% of their success comes from their mental focus.
Toughness.
Exactly. So I gave some tips regarding that, and I hope the tips were useful. They seem to enjoy training with me, and I certainly enjoyed training with them. As you mentioned, I don't play as much as I used to, so they were certainly giving me the runaround, but it was really, really enjoyable experience.
Yeah, but your expertise, the energy, the resources that you bring forth from an international standpoint is truly something really constructive and meaningful to those, boys and girls who haven't got that. They have gone for many international competitions, but with you having represented England at an age group category, they would have loved to hear, especially like what you said about mental toughness, let's say some nutrition, prevention of injuries, fitness, and all of these things would really give them the kind of insight that they want to have a roadmap going forward, as they want to expand on their career. But there are no shortcuts, so it's practice and more practice. Yes. So you're being here the whole day practicing with them. The other days we have Zoom calls, and I know you guide them, but nothing like being physically attending and seeing and playing with them. So thank you again for being here, and also with we can see Jolita also here, from a planetary health standpoint, and we can also ask some questions. But Dr. Anusha, we're really grateful for your presence, which really is truly from the bottom of our heart, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude for your fascinating effort to be here, take the time, plan your schedule, bring Joelita as well. I think this is her first trip from, Brazil, and she might have to say something as well on what she has seen in terms of Sri Lanka. There could be a lot of similarities as well, but I'm glad all of you are enjoying the visit here. And as I always say, volunteering is priceless, and the fact that you give back to your own country must be something really blissful, and something that you can actually take back as not only constructive but duty bound in a way to uplift, Sri Lankans whose talent and skill set are really at a good level, but needs that exposure, the opportunity, and the knowledge base to take it forward. So I want to thank you once again for being here, for doing all that you do, and goodness is the one investment that never fails, and I can only wish you to continue the successful journey and to flourish greatly and experience more good fortune, and whatever you do for those who cannot repay the favor is the hallmark of someone's true character, and very well done.
Thank you, Kushil. No, it's a pleasure to work with you in the Foundation of Goodness, and also to Jolito, I should mention, pioneered these youth club activities in Brazil, which we're now bringing over to Sri Lanka. So it's really a pleasure to be able to collaborate with so many talented people and bring such important skills to all these children so that they can be empowered to have a good future and excel in their careers, whatever they choose to do.
I'm glad that we're talking about good news, and this is really positive. And here we've set up probably the only good news radio in Sri Lanka, where we talk about very positive, outlook, the action that makes things better is what we discuss. So from that standpoint, having you on board, and then Jolita joining is also productive. So I would like to ask Jolita, what is your view here? You come to Sri Lanka for the first time from Brazil, and I know you're a part and parcel of Dr. Anusha's Planetary Health Club circle. So is there anything that you can add? You can tell us about the country, what kind of synergies both Brazil and Sri Lanka inherit. So how's the trip so far? And you've traveled the country with Dr. Anusha to Vaunia, to the north, then to the upcountry where the tea estate communities are, like Hatton, and then you come down south to Sinigama.
Okay, thank you, Kushi. And first coming to Sri Lanka, I was so expected because I have no idea what I will meet here, and so I knew Foundation of Goodness through the social media, the children, and so when I arrived here, oh my God, it's so incredible, so great, because good weather, because the same weather in Brazil is similar, and the people so lovely, the culture and the food is so good. And when I meet Anusha, I meet Anusha the first time on Colombo airport, because I speak with Anusha just from the online meeting. So many things happen at the same time, and the surprise, the emotion to meet Anusha, and the emotion to know Sri Lanka, a very special country. And so when I started the workshopping training with coordination, it was another step of very interesting situation. Good. How can I say? I think a good relationship. It was very important to me to know the natures. And Brazil, about the Planetary Health Club in Brazil started 2022, and I love this project in Brazil, and I'm here in the radio because Planetary Health Club in Brazil, children like radio very much, because they have a project with radio, that they use radio to communication or idea, and so it's very important the radio for Youth Club project. And I am so excited. I don't know how to say, I think if I can say this in English. Excited about the Planetary Health Club in Foundation of Goodness. Foundation It's a great charity organization because I saw everything around. The photo, the story, the tsunami 2004 is a very hard story. And so, oh my God, I appreciate very much to know the Foundation of Goodness, all the staff, all the professionals that are here. I'm sure we have, I don't know how to say that in English. Anusha, help me, please. Good partners.
Yeah. No, I think basically to have Dr. Anusha, lead the Planetary Health Club from England, and then get the Foundation of Goodness connected in Sri Lanka with you as the Planetary Health Club partner in Brazil is really phenomenal. And we are like a network now that is really adding a lot of value, and the children are learning so much from each other, and that itself is very productive. So I want to really convey my heartfelt gratitude for the positive outlook of life that you have brought in to this concept. And also by volunteering, you also increase your self-worth and enhance, the levels of happiness that you increase by helping others is also very, very, special and something that, always I want to, share is that the beauty of life depends on how happy others are because of us, and compassion, that all of you have shown defines, because seeing the plight of others and adding value in different areas like planetary health is something I think so critical to climate change. And unless we get our new younger generation involved in this roadmap to make it happen, as we have the kind of experts, why not? And now it has gone to all our centers around the country, where we have a footprint of 20 village heartbeat empowerment centers, and in Sinegama, the Center of Excellence. So everyone is learning thanks to Dr. Anusha, and now the collaboration between Sri Lanka and Brazil with this Planetary Health Club concept has given us so much meaning and productivity. So I want to convey my very best wishes to the two of you for a brighter future, and to illuminate the way you do, and excel greatly for being a part of our programs that we try to inculcate, where schools haven't really got into it so as of now. And I think even universities are basically introducing the concept. I'm glad you went to the University of Vaunia and had very, very positive kind of discussions and interaction to see how best we can take it from there and start the network rolling. So I want to really extend my heartfelt gratitude to the two of you. And I'm sure the two girls and the boy and then the university student has some questions for you. Natali, Jumana, Tejan, and Pathum, I think. If you can, one question each from everyone. So, Dr. Anusha, this is Natali, and she's an English little star, and so is Jumana, and they will ask the relevant questions now.
Thank you for giving me this great opportunity. So, our questions are told that you came here after 10 years. So, what kind of improvements and differences? Did you see some improvements and differences here than last 10 years?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So it's actually 8 years ago that I last visited, and I can see the centre has massively improved. I can see there's a huge range of courses now available for the children. Obviously, it's been a pleasure to introduce this planetary health course also for the last 5 years. I can see there's a huge improvement in the sports facilities as well, which is also really important to help children develop their skills. I should have mentioned earlier, it's nice to see that the robot I donated for the table tennis is still working. I think it's about 20 years old now since I last bought it, so it's brilliant, and the children are really enjoying playing with it. But I can see there's a huge improvement, and I can see the students are still so many more students, I think, here now than what I saw 8 years ago, and it's really brilliant to see how much they're enjoying being here and benefiting from all the resources here.
I have another question. How you get to know our Mr. Kushil?
Okay, so I was volunteering another charity back in 2014, and we were looking at projects to fundraise to be able to support children, and I was looking, and I was aware about the Foundation of Goodness because I follow cricket, obviously, from being from Sri Lankan background, and I was really interested in collaborating with the foundation because I thought they're doing some amazing work to support rural school children have the opportunities that they deserve. And I just sent an email to Kushil back in 2014 asking if we can collaborate on some fundraising, and we began with collaborating to fundraise for the school packs for the children, and it grew from there. And then back in 2020 I was developing this interest in planetary health, and I thought about introducing a planetary health course to Sri Lanka, because planetary health education wasn't really available, not just in Sri Lanka but anywhere in the world at the time. And I got in touch with Kushil just as the COVID pandemic was starting, and it seemed like an appropriate time to start it because, of course, COVID is very much a planetary health issue, a disease that's come from wild origins that came and infected the human population. So, and it started from there and it's developed into an amazing initiative, which even I didn't anticipate it would become this big. So it's been a pleasure to collaborate with Kushil and everyone else at the Foundation of Goodness.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you for giving me this opportunity. So Dr. Anusha, so as I've heard, you are a professor of planetary health, right? So that's interesting. So what's your opinion about them? What do you have to say for that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I am a lecturer, not a professor, just to repeat. Maybe in the future I'll be a professor, but, but that's fine, don't worry. So my expertise is actually when I started studying at university, and for my PhD studies I studied heart disease, and more recently now I've become more and more, well, in the last sort of 5 years, I've become more and more aware of how the environment affects our health. And I'm particularly interested in looking at how air pollution can increase heart disease. We know that air pollution is actually the biggest environmental risk factor for death in the world. And we know that about half of deaths linked to air pollution are actually caused by heart disease. But we don't know how the disease happens. We just know that there's a link. So my research in my university is focusing, looking at the actual mechanisms, what's happening in the body in response to air pollution. And at the same time, I'm also teaching planetary health to undergraduate and postgraduate students at my university, Royal Holloway University of London, who've also kindly funded our research and the possibility of running these workshops here at the Foundation of Goodness. So, and recently, as I mentioned earlier, I joined the Education Working Group at the Planetary Health Alliance, which is a consortium of about 500 organizations and universities worldwide who are trying to champion planetary health. So I'm working with them to improve education, particularly for children, and developing these guidelines, which is very exciting that this project we're doing with the Foundation of Goodness will inform those international guidelines and set a standard on how to teach children about planetary health internationally.
Okay, thank you.
So, I am Tejan. Miss Anusha, I have one question. Why did you came? What can you say about our country, and why do you think that to come our country?
Oh, thank you for the question. So, of course, I love Sri Lanka. My roots are Sri Lanka. My parents are from Sri Lanka, so I'm very proud of those roots, and I'm always very excited to visit Sri Lanka. I love the people. They're always so hospitable. The food is amazing. The culture is fantastic. It's such a diverse country as well, despite it being so small. And it's a very beautiful country as well. There's so much amazing nature and wildlife. I think it also sets a good example of how we can look after our environment and therefore look after our health. When you look at the sort of more developed countries, like where I live in the UK, it's nature. The UK is supposed to be one of the most nature-depleted countries in Europe, so it's not setting a very good example. But here in Sri Lanka, there's so much nature and wildlife, and people still stick to their traditions and their culture, and that also helps them to keep a good health and a positive mindset as well, which is also really important for health. Of course, Sri Lanka does have its health issues as well compared to other countries, and we're here to try and improve that situation. But it's always so exciting to be here, and it's a pleasure to be able to visit again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. What values or experience shaped your desire to give in back to the community?
That's a very good question. I think for me, having Sri Lankan roots, I want to always give back to those to the country from where my parents are from. And I think, as Rajiv quite rightly said before in his interview, I think all of us should have the right to have a good education, a good life. We shouldn't have division just because someone has more money. They shouldn't have more rights than anyone else. Everyone has the right to have access to the resources and to be able to pursue whatever career they want to go into. And it's also important that we look after each other, because at the end of the day, we all live on the same planet. And if we destroy our planet, we're not just destroying it for someone else, we're destroying it for ourselves as well. So it's really important that we all work together to look after our planet and to support each other. So I think that's really the core of the values.
And what kind of change do you hope from your contribution?
So I think education is probably the most powerful tool that we have to make change in the world. So I hope that by educating the children here in Sri Lanka, and also this project that we're doing is where the children will be interviewing their parents or someone older than them in their families to find out about how the environment is changing. I hope in that way we not only educate the children but their parents as well about how the world is changing and how we can all work together to make things better and find solutions in local communities, and again hopefully set a standard for the rest of the world as well.
What kind of message do you like to share with us?
So I think just look after each other, I think, and look after the environment. And I think you're already doing that with the great work that the foundation does already. So just keep motivating each other, keep working together. I think it's important that we all work together in an equal standing and look for those solutions to empower to empower future generations and to solve the world's challenges that we face today.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Kushil.
I think we have discussed quite a bit now, and I think Dr. Anusha's parents are eagerly waiting to take some rest. So we've actually texted her from morning, doing the table tennis session today, before lunch and after lunch, and then also the fact that the two of you were here, yesterday to conduct the session on planetary health has been really meaningful from the feedback that I have got, and I'm sure if we can really expand the idea and the concept of planetary health in our country, there will be a lot more satisfactory results that you aspire to achieve, and the outcomes will be really great. Anyway, we have planted the seed, and the tree I can see is growing, and hopefully will bear fruit in time to come. In the meantime, if there's a message, Dr. Anusha, that you want to leave behind, like Patum said, maybe he comes from Sri Jagadhanapura University, but she went to University of Vavonia as we introduced her to the north with our programs there as well. It would be a very good kind of a connection for the universities also to get involved in. I mean, at the end of the day, theory is one thing, practice is another, and implementation to me is more important. As you speak in classrooms and deliver the plan of action, it has to be implemented and action to bear fruit, right? So I always say research is one thing, but doing it is another. So I feel like if you give 10 areas that you think the kids, the teenagers should follow as a priority for climate change or climate action, or to take care of the universe in terms of planetary health, would be really useful, because sometimes when we teach, there's so many things that goes into that classroom sessions, but if you devise and say, look, please, as a first step, do these 10, and then we can actually circulate that message to all our centers in the country. And imagine, it's like, I can tell you this, Dr. Anusha, there was a professor from NASA of Sri Lankan origin, like you. He was Professor Asoka Mendis. He's retired now, but he was highly recognized when he was working in NASA. And we made this connection, and he's also distantly connected to me, but never has not been in touch. But we really then found out that our roots come from the same region. And about 4 years ago, he told me, Kushil, you have all these centers, and why don't you, on kids' birthdays, get these centers to plant trees? And I thought it would be, and he said he'll sponsor. So from that day up until now, we have planted 5,000 trees. 5,000, right? So it's ongoing, and it's being sustained. So every center, for example, would do about 20 to 25 trees now on a POE day, right? So if you take like 5 centers, would do it on one POE day, and it keeps rotating. So I mean, that was one thing that we've done, and imagine the significance of that initiative. So I would ask you if you can just pinpoint and say, first deliver these 10 areas, and I would like to print that and send it across to all our centers and tell them, okay, these 10, and because we have the Children's Good Values initiatives as well, what we call the Children's Goodness Clubs. So maybe they can start to follow up like a curriculum 1 to 10 that we can actually initiate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think firstly I'd probably need a bit of time to think about exactly 10 areas, but I think much of
but let's say 5,
yeah.
Let's say 10, I don't know. I mean, you're the expert. So
Yeah.
if you can, and I think it's about, one of the problems we have is, I think the kids are not very geared to think proactively. They are reactive. So if experts of your stature say, okay, for the betterment of planetary health, why don't we do these 5? Let's say 5, right?
Yeah.
And let's see that we take action. Make things happen. Not watch things happen or wonder what happened. So I would look upon you to give us that kind of concrete idea.
I think the work that you're doing already is definitely on the right lines. Planting a tree is obviously important.
Yeah.
You do the beach cleanup activities as well. That's
Yeah.
also really important. I think it's also important to go deep into understanding why we do these activities. For example, planting a tree. I think this is something I've discussed with Jolita as well. Back in Brazil, they plant a tree and then they discuss the importance of that species of the tree and how it supports human health, the fruit that it produces and how that supports our health, perhaps the seeds that it produces and how that supports ecosystems. So sort of going beyond the activity and understanding the significance of that in the context of our health and the community as well. And the same thing with the beach cleanups. Why plastic is such an issue in our environment now. We're seeing more and more health issues linked to plastics. So again, discussing the significance of those issues. I also think it's important, and one of the issues that came up during the workshops, the coordinators mentioned how many parents don't understand the importance of planetary health, and they want their students to just focus on the academic subjects and get good grades. That's obviously a cultural thing, particularly in South Asia. So I think it's also, globally, not just here in Sri Lanka, we need to integrate planetary health into teaching of each of the academic subjects, so that when these kids go into their future careers, they take that knowledge with them and they can improve their profession or their industry, whichever they go into, keeping that mindset of how to keep the environment healthy.
But like Dr. Anusha, for example, building a new era, right? I know the parents are ignorant and they are not prioritizing, what climate change is all about. I'm just thinking, if you take from the home perspective, right? So get children involved, how not to litter, right? So without putting plastics here and there and everywhere, they collect it in the right place, and no matter if there's no system, even in the rural areas, what do we do when they have a plastic bottle that is now done and it's finished, like let's say water bottle. What do we do? What do we teach the children where to deposit that? Or can we recycle it in a way, make it like a potted plant, something like that? I'm just thinking, because we have a children's goodness club and we can actually, because they are very eager to do good and create ways to support climate change or planetary health or what have you. But just starting from home, it's like I remember Abdul Kalam, President of India, saying that at the airports in India they litter so much, but when they take the plane and they're going to Singapore, even the chewing gum, they put it in the pocket, right? So, because there's a system there. I can see at the Foundation of Goodness as well, it's pretty, clean, spick and span and, all of that stuff. But when they come in, they know, hey, I can't be littering here and there, and there's a certain place to go and drop the plastic, the aluminium and whatnot. So like that, maybe I'm just thinking, to have like a plan of action, even for kids, and give them some incentive, where in our Children's Goodness Club we can say, okay, whoever has done something great, with littering, how you have managed to dispose of it, or create a recycling model, would be really superb. I'm just adding from my own, perspective of, creative thinking. But you being the expert, if you help us, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can drive the kids in the right direction where they direct the parents. Like, it's not like your era, it's very different. You didn't have the plastics, but the plastics are now, part and parcel of life. We're trying to change, but this is the way to go. So I think in that respect, like small changes, if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. So I think we can, because we look at good manners and, we look at, respecting, each other's space, and, so I think from that standpoint, if you can, come up with just 5 points on the lines that we discussed and more, would be really great to have your, specialization, delivered to us so that we can be the conduit and facilitate. Like how we, for example, the beach cleanup. Now for the first time, we have something called the Goodness Task Force. Goodness Task Force. So it's very easy in the classroom where we pick the best 3 academics, right? So you say, traditionally, you say, Dr. Anush, you're first in class, Cholita, you're second, I am last. Right? But what I'm saying is, now we have a culture where we go around all our sectors and tell the teachers, that's fine, continue with that tradition. But I want to see 3 who are best goodness ambassadors, right? Best good people in the class. First, second, third. Choose them. How respectful they are, how nice they are, how kind they are, how forgiving, how helpful, what gratitude they show, and pick 3. So we pick 3. Not only the best, who gets 100 marks, 90 marks, and 80, but we pick the best 3. And then we create a task force of goodness. You will not believe, after the pageant in our village, Vishmi commanded like an army brigade, and then after the pageant, they actually counted daily how much of polythene, how much of plastics, how much of aluminium, and they put a dashboard, right? Post-pageant dashboard saying this is what we have done. Just imagine. So these are areas that I'm actually talking, and getting done with these people. So I think, with the influence that we yield, I'm sure we can drive the kids to achieve, much better outcomes, more than the parents actually can do.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it's really important to support the children to explore their creativity, because often children come up with so many different ideas, and I think if, like you said, how to recycle plastics, how to create new ways of recycling and using things can really help to boost their creativity as well as empower them to find solutions to so many of these problems. And that's what we're also intending with these research activities that we're promoting for the children, empowering them to find out what the issues are and then find solutions to these problems.
We are good at delivering. We are good at delivering, and you would be good at giving us the directions how to deliver, so we can carry on that task, because we are action oriented. We want to make things happen. As I was speaking to you, Vishmi got me this dashboard, of what we have done in terms of the post pageant. So there have been 100 participants as goodness ambassadors or good stars task force, right? And total number of rubbish bags collected have been 62, right? Number of beach cleans that particular time, 5 times they have done it, and they have counted trash as 66,590, and in that plastic 8%, polythene 92%, and they have also said that the trash, total counted trash bags of plastics have been 30, total counted trash bags of polythene have been 32, so totally there have been 62. So I mean, all the statistics, once I posted this on LinkedIn, and someone commented that this is the first time they're seeing a post-pageant, a dashboard on waste disposal. So I mean, these are things that we have on our own created, but we haven't studied, but We just look at the environment and say, let's do this. And then, we work together as a team, and then we drive. So imagine having you on board, who's gone and, got a doctorate to tell us, hey, do this, and we'll run with it. So next time, Natali will probably be given a badge, plastic disposal star. So I think whatever you can help to guide on this avenue would be of. I think even for a planetary health club, it's about doing something. Learning is just one aspect. Then converting that learning into action, like your speech in tune with your action, has to be the case. So if you all work as a team, united in action, I'm sure we can get to that goal. My problem is, finally, I don't want to take too much of your time, but these are very interesting topics. My problem is, every year there's a climate change conference, okay, in the world. Now, the most senior, best of people who are in authority attend these conferences. My takeaway is that after the conference, okay, you put, let's say, the 20 areas that have been discussed that must be fulfilled before you attend the next conference. It's not a joyride, right? It is where you take action, because between the two conferences, the climate or the universe can wipe us out, right? So we are running short of time. So let's say if you have somewhere, I don't know where the next climate change conference is it in Brazil, or was it there already in Brazil, right? But let's say where it is next. We should actually go and make sure that the 20 is done. If it's not done, you should not invite the country. There's no other way, because you've got to be tough, because no point having a joyride going into a climate change action and then coming back and then just leaving whatever you learned there. That's the way I would look at it if I was to attend the conference, because coming back, you can go with pride and say, yes, we did this 20, what's the next 10?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a lot of the climate conferences so far have been very frustrating in terms of how little has been delivered, and also a lot of the texts that come out of the conference tend to water down the things that we should be aiming to achieve to slow down climate change. But I think the initiatives that you mentioned, such as this cleanup after the pageant, is showing that small communities can come together and have such a big impact. Why can't the world leaders who have so much power to change things actually make that difference? So I think, if we can publicize more activities like what the foundation is doing, and raise awareness so that people can see, little actions making a huge difference, then this can set an example to these leaders that they need to do more to make a change.
Dr. Anusha, I'm not saying only in the climate change sector, but in every conference, wherever that conference is, if you have a world summit, to come into the next one, I would be really embarrassed and shy if I was in their position, right? Not to deliver what they have already taken as a policy to implement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there needs to be far more accountability. They get away with so much, and it's very frustrating, particularly for
it's also letting down your own people if you spend so much money on public funding, go attend these conferences and not do what has to be done. Because I see in our own areas where authorities can take a lot of action into pollution is neglected, right? So it's harmful. It's detrimental to promotion of tourism, for example. So I think we need to make a concerted effort to get to where we have to go resolutely. So that's my thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm always outspoken when it comes to basically delivering. I mean, the Foundation of Goodness couldn't have gone that far if we didn't think on those lines to make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also part of the problem is these leaders who have the power to make this difference, they think it's an issue that's far away, they're not affected directly, and that's part of their, they're sort of insulated from the real problem. So we really need to make them more aware.
We live in the grassroots, so we work with the grassroots. We know exactly what the problems are, and then we want to take action to enrich their quality of life. That's what it is. Yeah. But anyway, thanks very much for being here, spending your time. We value your presence, Dr. Anusha. I'm glad we were able to have a chat, and may you long continue to serve planetary health, and may our country benefit in the ways that we can, the way you have actually taught us. And Cholita, thank you for joining from Brazil and being a part of this 3-tier, kind of program, and I'm sure will add value to make what we can do to mitigate climate action.